Hi friends, welcome back to Stacey Can. Today we're talking about jars and lids and rings. When you buy new jars, they come in a pack of 12 and they all automatically come with the lids and the rings on top of them attached. Well, they're not attached, they're just sitting there loosely that you can remove before processing. If you are reusing old jars, you can buy new lids because you cannot reuse the lids. So you can, which we'll get into, but you can buy new lids and rings in separate packaging, which is great. Now, most of our canning comes in home canning. We use quarts, pints, or you can even use half pints and use the pint instructions for processing the jar. You'll notice that we have wide mouth and regular mouth. Personal preference. Over the years, I've started using wide mouth a lot more because it's easier to pack versus the narrow mouth. But some instructions, some recipes, it'll be easier to use the regular mouth. It's up to you. It's personal preference. If you are using old jars that your great Aunt Martha gave you, make sure to check for the rim size here. I don't know if you can tell on this blue jar. I will be doing a close-up here. The ring size here, they can often be a little bit fatter, and as a result, these lids don't seal. They're fatter than the regular size rim is, and the regular lids won't seal to the jar. So make sure you double check that. You also want to double check to make sure when you're using jars that you are checking the rims to make sure there are no cracks. And just to overlook the jars in general to make sure that they're not chipped or compromised in any way. And sometimes you can't tell that. Sometimes it'll just unfortunately break in the canner, and that's okay. The next thing you want to do is you want to sterilize these jars. And you can do that. I always do it in the dishwasher, but you can also, if you have to, you can put it in a pot of boiling water. You can use the canner for that if you would like, or a regular stock pot, whatever works best for you. As far as lids go, the rules changed in 2014 according to the Ball & Kerr website by the Jarden Company, who now owns Ball & Kerr, that you don't have to simmer or boil the lids anymore. That's new to me. However, I still do on occasion, depending on the recipe. Just because there's an oily film to it, I will simmer them. So, or you can wash them with warm soapy water, etc. But do not boil. Do not boil. Do not boil. You will compromise the gasket here that seals the lid to the jar. And then, of course, your rings. Rings are here. They are nowadays aluminum. I don't know what they use. I think they used to be heavier style aluminum back in the day. When they were gold, which I do have some that are gold here. That was out of frame. Sorry. And back in the day, they were gold, and they were just thicker, and they stood up better. And nowadays, they wear out quicker. I can get anywhere from 3 to 5 uses out of these, or more than that, 3 to 5 years. It depends on what I'm using for canning. And then they get rusty, and you have to toss them. So they're aluminum. Often they are recyclable. The lids, however, are not recyclable because they have the rubber gasket here, and this white coating on the outside and the inside of the lid is, I guess, is apparently, after doing some research, is not recyclable either. So you do have to toss them unless you can figure out a way to separate the two. I haven't, but you do you. So these can be reused. Lids cannot. Another thing with lids, you might want to double check if you can hear this little noise there. There's a little bubble on the top of the lid, and when it's after you process the jar and it cools, and it's a sign that it has sealed, is that the bubble in the middle is pressed down. If it's pressed up, it has not sealed, and you'll actually hear it pop like so when you are canning, which is very exciting. That's the most important part of this canning process, is hearing the lids seal. So as far as filling up the jars and such, we will be going over that in a little more detail on how to process jars in the future. But the next step we are going to go over will be chatting about the water bath canner. So thanks, folks, and I will see you on the water bath canning site.